My name is Leo. My current job is manning the Oasis Fuel gas station, sandwiched between Highway 69 and a seemingly endless wall of pine forest in East Texas. By day, this place is just a dull stopover, with the roar of trucks and asphalt melting heat. But when night falls, it transforms into an isolated island of light in an ocean of darkness, and the silence is no longer peaceful, but a void waiting to be filled by fear. I'm not easily spooked, but working the night shift here week after week is enough to wear down anyone's nerves. The loneliness gnaws at you. You start hearing strange noises in the hum of the refrigerator, seeing movements in the corner of your eye that aren't there when you look directly. Most of the time, I tell myself it's just my tired mind playing tricks on me. Until that night. The air was thick, heavy, almost windless. Around almost 3 a.m, I was standing outside the door, trying in vain to get some fresh air, my eyes gazing absently towards the dark edge of the forest. I squinted, trying to pierce the haze, and then I saw a figure standing motionless at the edge of the woods. I thought maybe it was a driver whose car broke down somewhere on the road, heading to the gas station for help. But why were they standing at the edge of the forest, not by the road? I kept looking, and suddenly saw the figure raise its hand, as if waving me over. I waved back after a second's thought. Then, the figure seemed to recede back into the darkness of the forest. "Hey!" I called out, trying to keep my voice from trembling. "Is everything okay? Do you need help?" No answer. Only the other arm continuing that eerie, beckoning gesture. I hesitated, took a deep breath, turned on my phone's flashlight, and cautiously walked towards the edge of the woods. The figure seemed unreal, blurry like an apparition about to dissolve. When I was only a few steps away, close enough to realize there were no clear details to the figure, just a denser black shape amidst the darkness, it abruptly stopped the beckoning gesture. Then, without a sound, it vanished into the night as if it had never existed. I stood frozen, mouth agape. What the hell? A prank? A hallucination? Or something else? The way it disappeared was too fast. An inexplicable urge, an unspoken question echoed in my head. What was it? What did it want? I knew this was a bad idea, extremely bad, but I did it anyway. I held the flashlight high, the weak beam cutting a trembling path into the thick darkness of the forest, and stepped inside. The air inside the forest was completely different, cooler, damper, and heavy with the scent of decaying leaves, damp earth, and an unpleasant, pungent odor I couldn't identify. The flashlight beam only illuminated a small circle in front of me. The silence here was even more terrifying than outside, oppressive, heavy, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. I slowed down, straining every sense. The pounding of my heart in my chest drowned out my own footsteps. "Hello?" I called softly, my voice almost a whisper. "Is anyone here?" Only the faint echo of my own voice answered. I continued a little deeper, the flashlight beam sweeping across moss-covered tree trunks, dense fern bushes. I felt like someone was watching me from all sides, from the darkness between the trees, from above. Then I heard whispering. It was very faint, mixed with the rare light breeze rustling the leaves. It sounded like many voices whispering at once, a ghostly chorus echoing from afar. I stopped, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. It seemed to come from all directions, surrounding me. "Someone?" I repeated, my voice now trembling noticeably. "This isn't funny." I swept the flashlight beam wildly around, but only saw trees and darkness. Fear began to tighten its grip on my throat. I had to get out of here immediately. I turned, trying to remember the direction I had come from, but in the darkness and panic, everything looked the same. The whispering still followed me, sometimes like weak pleas, sometimes like wicked giggles. And then, as my flashlight beam swept across a gap between 2 large trees, I saw it. A face. It was disgustingly pale, as if carved from plaster or white bone. No hair, no ears, no distinct nose. But the eyes, Oh God, they were black pits, deep, completely empty. I couldn't scream. My throat felt constricted. My feet felt frozen to the ground. All I could do was stand there, facing that terrible empty gaze, while the surrounding whispers became urgent, frantic. A tiny click from the dying flashlight in my hand snapped me back to reality. Survival instinct kicked in hard. I no longer cared about direction, just bolted towards where I vaguely sensed a faint glimmer of light. Branches whipped my face, roots tripped my feet, causing me to stumble repeatedly. The whispering still pursued me closely. Finally, the neon lights of Oasis Fuel appeared before me like a rescuing beacon. I burst out of the forest, ran across the lot, reached the gas station door. My hands shook so badly, I could barely get the key in the lock. I threw myself inside, slammed the door, locked it. I leaned against the door, gasping for breath, my whole body trembling. I looked through the glass door, towards the edge of the woods, only the silent night and the still rows of trees. But I knew it wasn't a hallucination. The remaining hours of my shift turned into a living hell. I sat frozen behind the counter, not daring to take my eyes off the windows and the camera monitor. Every noise, no matter how small, made my heart leap. I needed to do something to distract myself, to prove I wasn't going crazy. I tidied up a bit, wiped down the counter and inside the drawer. When I opened the drawer, underneath some old receipts and dried up pens was a worn old leather-bound logbook. I flipped through the scrawled handwritten pages, noting minor incidents: broken gas pump, customer complaints, power outage, all the usual things from any shift. But then, near the end of the book, I stopped at a page written in different handwriting, shaky and hurried. The date was almost a year ago. The writer's name was Daniel. Most of his log entries were as normal as the others, but the last entry, just a few short lines, scrawled and almost illegible. Saw it again tonight. Standing at the edge of the woods, waving, "Don't go in there. It doesn't want to help." It wants... The writing ended abruptly there, as if the writer was interrupted or too terrified to continue. In the bottom corner of the page, a small drawing, a round, pale face and two large, deep black dots for eyes. That was it. The face I saw in the woods. A new wave of cold horror washed over me. I wasn't the first. Daniel had seen it, and maybe he didn't get out. What happened to Daniel? I shot up, staring out the window. Maybe Daniel, or some other previous victim, their spirit trapped, forced to repeat that beckoning act night after night, to lure new prey for that pale face. As the first faint light of dawn appeared, I hastily ended my shift, ran to my car, and drove off as fast as I could. I said nothing to the person taking over the shift, just hoped he wouldn't be as curious as I was. I drove straight back to my apartment in the nearby town, heart still racing. I had left the gas station, left the forest, but I knew I hadn't really escaped it. The image of that pale face with the bottomless black eyes haunted me. Oasis Fuel was a hunting ground, and like Daniel before me, I had seen the true face of that predator. Will I one night become the next shadow standing at the edge of the woods, waving another lonely soul into the darkness? I don't know. And that not knowing, along with the image of those bottomless black eyes, is the real horror that will follow me for the rest of my life. My name is Alex Peterson, 22 years old, a senior majoring in journalism at the University of Oregon. To pay for tuition and living expenses, I took a night shift job at a small gas station located on the outskirts of the city. The gas station is beside a quiet forest road, dimly lit by flickering neon lights. Nights here are often eerily silent, with only the sound of the wind howling through the roof and the groaning hum of the air conditioner breaking the stillness. My regular customer is a man named Todd. I don't remember when I first met Todd, but I'm sure it was on an early autumn night. He walked into the store when the clock struck 2 a.m., tall, slightly hunched, with hair disheveled, as if it hadn't been combed in days. Todd's eyes were deep, carrying an indescribable sadness. Todd was not an easy customer. He just bought alcohol, paid, and left without a word or even a glance at anyone. At first, I didn't pay much attention. Todd was just one of the odd customers I encountered during my night shifts, but what caught my attention was his regular presence every night. Each time he came back, Todd seemed to look worse. His clothes wrinkled, his face gaunt, and one time I even noticed a long scratch on his arm. But the strangest thing was Todd's gaze, which always lingered on me a few seconds longer than necessary, making me uneasy. One night, I saw Todd standing outside the parking lot for a long time before coming into the store. He didn't do anything, just stood there, head down, as if talking to himself. My breath froze as I thought about the possibility that he might have a gun or do something dangerous. But Todd just came in, quietly bought alcohol, and left. Although nothing happened, my unease grew stronger with each visit. One stormy night, outside the wind howled, blowing fallen leaves and slamming against the gas station windows. The rain poured down in torrents, and lightning split the dark sky. I stood behind the counter, trying to finish an assignment on my laptop, the sound of the rain relentless in the background, when the gas station door suddenly swung open. Todd walked in, soaked to the bone, water dripping from his coat and forming a small puddle on the tile floor, which was oddly tinted red. This time, Todd didn't just buy alcohol as usual. He stood at the counter, his bloodshot eyes staring at me with an empty expression. "I've done something terrible," Todd said, his voice hoarse, almost inaudible. "I'll need a place to hide." My heart raced. I tried to stay calm and asked if he needed help. But Todd didn't answer. He just stared out the window, as if fearing something was chasing him. Then he quickly moved towards the back of the store, towards the bathroom. When Todd disappeared from sight, I realized my hands were trembling uncontrollably. I was about to call the police, but before I could dial, the entire gas station went dark. Everything was submerged in darkness. I quickly grabbed the flashlight from the counter and called Todd's name, but there was no answer. In the thick darkness, I heard strange noises coming from the bathroom, a small but distinct sound, like metal falling to the floor. I moved towards the sound, the flashlight beam trembling as it scanned every corner of the store. As I got closer to the bathroom door, I noticed it was slightly ajar. The flashlight light peeked through the crack, revealing a trail of muddy footprints leading from the door inside. I gently pushed the door open, the light sweeping through the empty room. No one was there, but the unease didn't dissipate. It felt like someone was watching me from the shadows. Another noise rang out, and before I could turn around, a strong force shoved me to the floor. Todd was standing there, his eyes wild with panic and a crazed gleam. He held a metal rod in his hand. I screamed, trying to fight back, but Todd was stronger than I had thought. A sharp pain shot from my head as he swung the rod down. The last thing I saw before I blacked out was his twisted smile. Not the smile of a victor, but the smile of someone who had lost all humanity. When I woke up, everything was quiet. My head ached, and blood still trickled from the wound on my forehead. Todd was gone. I called the police and told them everything. They searched the gas station and the surrounding area, but found nothing except muddy footprints inside the bathroom. A few days later, the terrifying story was revealed. Through the news, I learned that Todd had killed his wife in a drunken rage the night before. Her body was found in a small house near the gas station, and Todd had managed to escape. I quit my job at the gas station soon after. Every time I think back, I can't forget Todd's wild eyes and that haunting smile. But what's even scarier is the thought that, out there, Todd is still free, and the darkness he carries continues to haunt a hidden corner of this world. The dashboard clock glowed 10:47 p.m. as I pulled into the Shell station near my place. My gas tank was practically on empty. I had to fill up tonight. or I'd be stranded on my way to work tomorrow morning. No one was visible in the gas station area. The convenience store next to it was brightly lit, looking like it was still open for business. After filling my tank, I headed into the convenience store to pay. The automatic glass doors slid open, and a chime beeped. Inside, it was brightly lit, but no one was behind the counter. "Hello?" I called out, but no one answered. I heard the sound of running water from the restroom in the back of the store. Maybe the employee was in there and would be out in a minute. I decided to browse around and grab a few things while I waited. I walked down the snack aisle, picking up a bag of Doritos and a pack of cookies. As I stood in front of the cooler, choosing a bottle of water, I caught a glimpse of a dark shadow darting across the far end of the aisle, near the magazine rack. I froze, my heart quickening. I stared into the aisle for a full minute, listening. I'm listening for everything, but I see nothing. Probably just the shadow of a tree outside from a passing car. Or maybe I was just tired and imagining things. I took my items to the counter and waited. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. The running water in the restroom just kept going. "Excuse me, anyone here?" I called again, louder this time. Still no answer. A sense of unease started to creep in. I moved closer to the restroom, calling out again. Silence, except for the water. I tried the door, but it was locked. The employee was probably inside and in trouble. I grabbed my phone and called 911. I'm at the Shell gas station on Elm Street. No employee visible, and I've heard water running in the restroom since I got here. I'm worried something might have happened. We'll send a patrol car right over. I waited outside the store. About 15 minutes later, a police car pulled up. 2 officers stepped out. "Are you the one who called this in?" "That's right. I came in about 20 minutes ago. No one's been at the counter, and I've been hearing constant running water from the restroom." They quickly entered the store, and I followed. The younger officer went straight to the restroom while the other checked around the counter. "It's locked," the younger officer said. "Anyone in there? Police!" Still only silence, accompanied by the persistent sound of running water. After a moment, they decided to force the door. The lock broke, and the younger officer stepped inside first. The very next second, he backed out, his face a mask of horror, without saying another word. I couldn't see what was inside, but when the door swung open, revealing the back of it, my body went cold. A deep red coating splattered across the back of the door, forming streaks and long drips running down. A section of the restroom floor that I could glimpse from my angle was also stained red. Within the next 20 minutes, the place became a crime scene. Ambulances, more police cars, detectives, and a forensics team. They strung yellow tape around the area. I was kept there as the sole witness. I recounted the entire incident to a detective. About an hour later, a forensics officer announced, "The victim is Kevin Morrison, 23 years old. He was working the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Appears to have been attacked with a blunt object. Passed away about an hour before you called the police." I was stunned, but what truly shocked me was the time frame. That meant I had arrived at the gas station right after it happened. The dark shadow I saw earlier wasn't an illusion. "We'll be in touch if we need any more information. You can head home," a detective told me. I drove home feeling unsettled. I parked my car in the garage and entered the house. Flicking on the kitchen light, I grabbed a beer from the fridge. I needed to calm down after what had just happened. As I was drinking my beer and looking out the kitchen window, I saw a dark shadow move across the backyard. My heart pounded. I turned off the kitchen light and looked closer. Nothing, just trees and the fence. Was I hallucinating? I went upstairs to my bedroom and changed. I was about to go to bed when I saw the dark shadow again. This time, it was through my bedroom window, moving along the front yard. Not an illusion. Someone was outside my house. I called 911 for the second time that night. Someone's breaking into my yard. The address is 1247 Wellington Street. After the call ended, I sat in the dark bedroom looking out. 5 minutes later, a police car arrived. One of the officers was the same one I'd met at the gas station. He recognized me. I told him about the dark shadow I'd seen. They checked around the house with flashlights but found no signs of forced entry or footprints. You might just be really stressed after tonight, sir. We'll patrol this area more frequently. After they left, I locked the door carefully and checked all the windows. But I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the victim and the dark figure at the gas station. At 3 a.m., I heard a noise downstairs, like someone opening a kitchen cabinet. I grabbed my baseball bat and slowly crept down. Light streamed from the open refrigerator. "Who's there?" I called out. A man turned to face me, a large knife in his hand. He spoke, surprisingly calmly and casually. He saw me take the money from the safe. I didn't have a choice. "Now you've seen me too," he said, stepping towards me with the knife. I swung the baseball bat. It connected with his wrist, and the knife clattered to the floor. He yelled in pain, then lunged at me. I bolted for the front door, burst into the street, and yelled for help. My neighbor's lights flickered on, and they helped me call the police. Within minutes, the police arrived. This time, there were 2 cars and 6 officers. They surrounded my house. But when they went inside, they found no one. The knife was still on the kitchen floor. The back door was open. He had escaped. The police took me to a hotel for the night to ensure my safety. 3 days later, they caught the culprit when he tried to use the gas station employee's credit card at another gas station about 50 miles south. He was identified as Danny, 28, a drug addict with a history of theft. According to his confession, he went to the gas station intending to steal money from the safe. Kevin, the employee, discovered him. During the struggle, Danny knocked Kevin unconscious with a wrench and dragged him into the restroom, intending to lock him in. But Kevin unexpectedly woke up. Danny, in a panic, committed the horrific act. In court, Danny was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Since then, every time I drive past that Shell station, I still remember that fateful night. It has been weeks, but that night still lingers in my mind as if it just happened yesterday. I still remember the cold, exhausting feeling as I drove down Highway 61. But what I can't forget is that man. I never imagined that what seemed like an ordinary encounter would turn out to be the beginning of a nightmare. The gas light came on. I only had enough gas for about 10 more miles. My phone's map showed only one gas station about 11 miles away. I hoped I had enough fuel to make the trip. 10 minutes later, I saw a faint light ahead, and an old gas station appeared. I pulled up to a pump, swiped my credit card, started pumping gas, and looked around. Besides my car, there was an old, dark blue pickup truck parked in the corner of the station, mostly hidden by the shadows. That's when I noticed a figure standing near the blue truck, a tall man wearing a dark jacket. I tried to act normal, focusing on pumping gas, but my heart started pounding. The shadowy figure started moving toward me, slowly, step by step. I could hear his shoes crunching on the gravel. The gas nozzle wasn't even full yet, but all I wanted to do was jump in my car and speed away immediately. "Good evening, friend." The man's voice was deep and hoarse. He stepped into the light, his face long and gaunt, with stubble and deep-set eyes under the brim of his hat. "Are you driving alone?" I nodded, not wanting to talk, but also not wanting to seem scared. "Yeah, I'm heading home. My car broke down. I need to get to Millfield. It's only about 30 miles from here. Could you give me a ride?" I looked at him, trying to size him up. He was half a head taller than me, with broad shoulders and large hands. There was something bulging in his jacket pocket, and I didn't want to know what it was. "Sorry, I'm not going through Millfield. I'm going the other way." The man's smile disappeared. "Millfield is on Highway 61. You're on this road. I'm turning off at the next intersection." The man was silent for a moment, his eyes staring intently at me. "There's no intersection ahead. You're lying." The gas nozzle had stopped. I slowly removed the nozzle from my car, closed the gas cap, not taking my eyes off him. "I really need to get to Millfield tonight. It's important." "Just a short ride." The man took another step toward me. I shook my head, moving towards my car door. "I can't. Sorry. He reached into his jacket pocket, but instead of pulling out something dangerous, he pulled out a wad of cash. I'll pay you $200, just for 30 miles. No thanks. I opened my car door, quickly sliding into the driver's seat. He put his hand on my car door, stopping me from closing it. $500. Buddy, I really need help. I'm really sorry, sir, I said, trying to pull the door shut. The man wouldn't let go. Instead, he leaned down, his face just inches from mine. The smell of whiskey and cigarettes wafted from his breath. Listen, I don't want any trouble, but I have to get to Millfield tonight. Understand? I was about to answer when another pair of headlights shone into the gas station. A police patrol car slowly pulled in. The man immediately let go of my car door and backed up a few steps. The police car parked, and an officer got out. The man's demeanor instantly changed. He became relaxed and friendly. Is there a problem? The officer asked, his gaze moving between me and the man. No problem at all, officer. I was just asking for directions to Millfield. The officer nodded, but I noticed he was observing the man closely. Could I see some ID, sir? The man hesitated for a second, then said, I left it in my truck. Let me get it. He turned his back and walked toward the blue pickup truck. That's when the officer moved closer to me, lowering his voice just enough to be heard. Are you willing to give him a ride? I shook my head. I'm really not going through Millfield. I see. Better safe than sorry. His eyes quickly shifted towards the truck. Suddenly, the truck's engine roared to life. The blue pickup truck sped out of the gas station at a crazy speed. I stood there, stunned. He just said his car broke down, and now he was speeding away like nothing was wrong. The officer quickly reported it over his radio, his voice tense as he described the truck and requested backup. He turned back to me, his eyes more serious than ever. I recounted every detail of my encounter with the man. The officer used his radio again, requesting a lookout for the truck, suspecting foul play. For me, he sent another colleague to escort me home to ensure my safety. 2 months passed. Life slowly returned to normal, but I couldn't completely shake the uneasy feeling from that night. One evening, I was watching the news as usual. An image of a familiar face suddenly appeared on the screen, making my blood run cold. Deep-set eyes, a gaunt face. It was exactly the man from the gas station that night. Stuart Welch, 45 years old, serial killer. He murdered 5 victims in 3 years using the same method, faking a broken-down car, asking for a ride, then overpowering them and taking them to a remote location. I sat motionless, every detail flooding back. The news anchor continued. He was caught thanks to a report from a lucky witness who escaped 2 months ago. So, I could have been the 6th victim if that police officer hadn't shown up at the right time. If I'd agreed to give him a ride, things might have... I turned off the TV, sitting in silence. I was right to trust my gut feeling that murders often happen in deserted places. I never thought I'd almost become living proof of that statement. Since that night, I've never dared to drive alone on empty roads.